All right, hey guys, Rob Satcham, Feedbackwrench. On our YouTube channel and on our podcast, we love to feature entrepreneurs. And Pamela Jones of My Girls, an exclusive service by My Girls. And I have the honor to hear your story. I want to share your story. Like genuinely, one of the things that just gets me so excited about after I've met you, and what year did I meet you? It's 2023 now.
I think you didn't have any children when I first met you.
Yeah, we bumped into each other at a church. So my oldest daughter's 11, so that must have been like 12 years ago. And it's kind of like, hey, I saw you. And I remember I bumped into your daughters, because I'm 6'5", if you guys don't know this.
Yes.
Your daughters and yourself are tall. And I remember I was at Lifetime and I was like, oh, there's some tall girls there. They're working hard and they're doing a good job. And then all of a sudden, through our accounting firm, we had bumped into each other.
Right.
And then over time here, we're serving you and trying to help you guys grow your business.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I really want to do is just share more stories of entrepreneurs that commit to their family, that execute and get it done. And you have a really cool story. You have you're not the typical entrepreneur. So why don't you fill me in a little bit about how long you've been doing this? How long have you been running My Girls? Tell us a little bit about exclusive services by My Girls first.
Okay.
Just tell us what's this company doing and what do you guys?
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for having me. I am a little nervous, but I'm so looking forward to our time together. But as you know, I own the company My Girls House Cleaning, and I've owned that company for 22 years. We rebranded last year and became exclusive services by My Girls, because we provide an array of services. So we thought it was better to market exclusive service so we could let our clients know that we exclusively take care of them. We know that My Girls House Cleaning or exclusive services by My Girls are not for everybody. So we like to put it out there that if in fact you become one of our clients, you are going to be taken care of really well.
You've really focused down. And so what's with the word My Girls? The first time I saw that, you've led and developed your children to run and do that. Catch us up to what's the story behind that name and whatnot?
Well, back in the day when I started the company, it was just myself. Actually, it wasn't even a company. I just went out, started cleaning.
Yes.
Because I had needs.
Yep.
So I had recently become divorced due to escaping a cult in Mexico. And I came to America back in 2000. And with the limited education I had, because being educated in the church and the cult that I was from, especially because I was a woman, was a no-no. It was something that was not to be done.
Okay, so hold on. You're in Mexico.
Correct.
You were involved you kind of kidnapped and involved and sucked into a cult?
Well, I wasn't kidnapped. I was prisoner.
Okay.
But in a cult, absolutely. I was born into this cult.
So tell us just a little bit of, you dive in as much or as little as you want. You're there. It's 2000 is when you get here. But just what's the synopsis of that?
So I'm married, and I'm married into this cult. I have 9 beautiful children. And during those 19 years of marriage, I knew that I was created for more than what I was doing, which being a mother is an amazing calling. Mm-hmm. And I'm not to downplay that. I was called to be a mother, and that was amazing and a wonderful, fulfilling experience. But I knew deep down inside there was something more. Mm-hmm. And due to the religion and the practices of that cult, it was very misogynistic, and it was very controlling. Yeah. And due to some of their beliefs, I knew that if I did not leave, I would have 4 little of my ex-husbands and 5 little me's. So at one point, I was sitting in my living room, and one of my sons was going to get his braces on, and he burst out crying. He was 16. Mm-hmm. I won't tell you which one he is because, anyways, he burst out crying, and I said, son, and I got close to him. I said, hey, sweetheart, it's not that big a deal. It's just braces. You'll be okay. He says, no, Mom, I'm tired of seeing you like this. Mm. And so once that was said to me, that's when I broke. I thought, I can't do this anymore. I can't look my children in the eyes and say, this is as good as it gets, kids. Yeah. So I started planning my escape. And they kept us hungry, a lack for everything. So I had to be really cunning with planning my escape to come to America. I'm a full
you and your kids.
I'm a full American citizen, but my children were Hispanic citizen. And I was told that if I tried to leave or escape, they would plaster the pictures of all my children and myself at the border crossing from...
So they're fear-mongering you, they got you scared to death. Plus, you got to do this hard thing. It's not just you.
Well, there's a lot more detail about the fear-mongering, which I don't know if we want to get into that detail, but they were very, very dark
I bet.
And there was a ritual called the blood atonement, which people want to look that up, they can. But that was what I was afraid would be inflicted on me if I left. And that means I would lose my life. So as time goes, fast forward, I'm preparing, getting ready to leave. I find some credit cards in my then husband's briefcase that have my name on it. And I realize, oh, has my name, there's money on it. So I figured out how to call them and figure out how much money was in there. And one had $1,400, one had $400. So I took those. Wow. And I thought, okay, I'm going to have these. That will probably last me 10 years. That's a lot of money.
Yep.
So I did that, and then I convinced my husband that I needed a break, that I was going to go visit some family in the United States. And then when I came home, I'd be submissive and obedient, and I would fall in line and do what I was supposed to do. He kind of laughed at it, thought, you don't have anything, how are you going to leave? But if you can figure it out, go. Mm-hmm. So I started my planning. And I had 8 of my children, because one of my sons had already left town. So we loaded into the Plymouth van. I grabbed 4 suitcases, a gallon of water. One of the practices that they would do is when a wife became rebellious, they would start to starve her out. So I would be hungry. I went without friendship, communication, a lot of stuff like that. So we jumped into that vehicle and I hit the road. And as I drove over the Cuesta, is what it's called, and saw the lights of the colony in my rearview mirror, my heart was just like, if I never see this place again, it would be too soon. I had no idea where I was going. I had no idea what was going to happen. I just drove.
I have a friend who, she's since passed, but she grew up in an oppressive style situation a little bit like this. And it just seems like it's like the frog that you put in the cold water and then they just keep burning it, keep getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And then you feel like you can't escape. But so now you get to this point where you're like, I gotta go. You got how many kids do you have with you while you're doing this?
I have 8 with me. My oldest is 17. He had left home.
Okay.
So at this point, as I'm getting ready, what I forgot to say is that just before I left, the kids are in the car's warming up at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's February, it's dark outside, coyotes are in the back, you name it.
Oh, yeah.
We hadn't eaten. I had some vegetables, whatever, from the garden. And I had this conversation with God. And I told him, I'm going to leave. And I had to be ready to die. I really had to be prepared to die because I didn't know what the price would be for my rebellion. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm going to stick my toe out the threshold of this house, God. Strike me dead. Go ahead. And if you do, we'll talk about this. Mm-hmm. But until then, I'm going to go. But I didn't know where I was going. Yeah. Put my toe out, nothing happens. Put my foot out, still breathing. It was one of the hardest things I ever had to do because I really was brainwashed to believe that my life would be taken.
And they mess with your idea of who God really is. They mess with your idea of who you are as a role. So you're like, So I was ready to die. And what's so beautiful, Rob, it is so beautiful. That little girl did die. That soft-spoken, obedient, full of fear, confused, woman with a dream that couldn't live her dream, she died that day. Mm-hmm. So it really did happen, but not the way I thought it would happen. Mm. As you can see, my throat is fine. They didn't slit it. That's just a metaphor. Oh man,
that was one of the punishments.
How deep into Mexico is this place?
It's 4 hours south of El Paso, Texas.
Okay.
Yes. So, anyways, long story short, I didn't know that was the beginning of true challenges in my life. Mm. And I like to use this metaphor, and it might make sense or not, but you can go to your fridge, and if it's stocked full of food, you're going to struggle to know what to make for dinner. Mm-hmm. Well, I made fish last night, and and I made that, and this one doesn't like this. And you're looking through all this to feed your family. Mm-hmm. And it takes a lot of work, and you have to use creativity. If you're Hispanic, you're going to make something spicy. If you're, Italian, you're going to make whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if you go to a fridge and there's one potato, a little piece of cheese, and half a cup of milk, guess what you're having for dinner? Mm-hmm. How hard is that on me as a creator to make that decision? Yeah. It's a piece of cake, right? When you escape the cult, or you escape any kind of bondage or whatever it's called, when you escape and come to your freedom or America, now you're coming into a full fridge. Mm-hmm. And I had never used my creativity, imagination of what I was going to do, what I'd be. I was always told.
You had no opportunity. You didn't have any tools at the play. Or you did, but they didn't let you get anything. So now you're coming across the border and you're seeing opportunity, liberty, a way for you to move forward and really build the kind of life that you want.
And how are you going to show up?
Yeah.
And you drive to the drive-thru that you've always dreamt about, and you go to order a burger. And you can't say the words because first of all, you're not sure how to say it and what isn't. And do you want cheese or onions? And they're asking all this question. Well, I don't know what I want. Just give me a burger. How
Were you guys
hard is
bilingual
this?
down there? Like, did
Yes.
you speak English?
Well, I'm bilingual now.
Yeah, you were. But back then, was it only Spanish or?
Well, both.
Okay, so
it was truly English translated into Spanish. So the way we spoke English was only a Mexican way. The way that, like, if you say, "Come to the door," open it first, then close it. That's how you say it in Spanish, and here we say, can you just go through the door and close it? In other words, everything's just a little bit backwards. And so our English is backwards, at least it was.
Okay.
Hence, I had all these children. They were straight F students when I put them in school for the first time because they thought, look at these little blondies who can't speak English. Are they okay?
Interesting.
Well, they had only learned Spanish translated into English, and the whole colony speaks that way. To this day, I can pick out one of those people.
Really?
I can be in the shopping and hear someone and I know it's them.
Interesting.
Because of how they speak Spanish translated into English.
That's
That's
awesome.
what my English was. So when I came to America, that was my goal, was to feed my children, to escape. And I had lived 34 years in a cult behind the trail of a Mormon Manson who left a trail of murder. So I had lived in full-fledged fear most of my whole life, not to mention fear of my father, and then fear of my husband.
So, okay, so this is late 90s.
No, this is 2000.
This is 2000, okay.
Right.
So now, I want to learn more about that. Like, that's very, okay, so you said, so this is kind of in a Mormon-esque, strange, and I know there's stuff down in Mexico and Southwest America where there's some very oppressive stuff, bad stuff, so this is kind of in the Mormon vein, but tell me more about what you just said there. You said that this is in the there's...
Okay, so there was this church that was started back in 1923 or 24, and it was 5 brothers. They started this church and a father, and of these 5 brothers, there became a war of some sort, and one of them became, and he's known as the Mormon Manson.
The Mormon Manson.
Yes, because he believed in the blood atonement, and he set out and killed a lot of people. My father was on his list. He terrorized the colony. He did. I know I told you this was going to get deep, and I didn't know if we wanted to get this deep, you know. And so there's 2 colonies, and there's a lot of history, and in my book you'll be able to hear all this. I'm trying to go over it quickly, but there's 2 colonies, Baja California, there's another one. There was a raid, they opened fired. They used young kids, 13 and 12-year-olds with shotguns, and they just burned a building down. When the townspeople came to put it out, they opened fired and ended up killing people there. So
the police opened fired on the
this cult breakaway.
Okay.
And the leader of that, he is known as the Mormon Manson. I don't want to mention his name.
That's fair.
Because I just don't want everybody to go and then relate me to what they're going to find. Yeah. It's not good. Yeah.
So there's 2 groups in Mexico here, and we don't want to say their names because
no, we don't.
And I'm all for that. Yeah. I don't want to ever bring glory to criminals.
Yeah.
I kind of hate when anybody does that.
Yeah.
So it's very oppressive. There's violence, is what you're saying. There's this threat of this atonement thing where they kind of threaten where they would kill people. Is that what it is? They would kill you if you weren't acting right to atone you.
Well, if you want to know, I'll make it as short as I can. Yeah. So it's a religion, and if you sin, you go to hell. Most religions teach that some way. This teaching was that if you sin, you could atone for that by a ritual where they would slit your throat from ear to ear, and they would make sure that your blood sprinkled on the ground, and there was witnesses, and by doing that, you would gain salvation in heaven. So it's a Mormon, it's in that church, it's taught. I heard about it all my life, but to be real honest, I've never seen anything like that.
But if that's even in the back of your head as something that could happen, and
you better not divorce.
And it's in a misogynist, like there's just men controlling everything.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that's just got to be terrifying. Okay, so you're fleeing now.
Yes,
you're getting rid of this.
Yeah, I'm leaving that.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to die if that's what it takes.
So there's real fear behind this.
At any point, the Mexican authorities they can be bought out for any reason. could come and take us and send us back. And not to mention that all my children are illegal citizens, though they're American citizens born abroad, and they're illegal American citizens now.
Wow.
But that is told to you, they're going to take your kids from you.
Yeah.
So you head out being willing to lose the kids too. In my book, you'll hear the prologue of my book is the whole recounts of that escape, and it's amazing, blow your mind.
Wow.
But we do get across, we head to America. I don't know where I'm going, and I had a friend, so I head to Draper, Utah.
Okay.
So the first thing we did was swipe our card and buy some bananas and bread and milk because we hadn't eaten, and we head to America. From there, I stay in Utah for about a year, and I start cleaning a little. You know, I have 9 children, and 2 of the boys are working. They're doing drywall. So we start that. I put the kids in school, like I mentioned to you earlier. They were all straight F students. And it was so hard to go to the parent-teacher conference, and everything would be an F, even their physical, what is it called?
Physical
Education.
PE class.
Yeah, PE, there you go. It was all F, and I just think, how can you get an F in
Yeah, they're
PE?
relearning the language.
Yeah.
They're probably scared. They're trying to
Right.
fit in. They
Right.
know that stuff is hard. You're busting. Okay, so now I do want to ask a little. Do you remember like some of the first cleaning jobs you got done?
Absolutely.
Okay, so what was that? Like what?
So-
How'd you get your
so-
first customer?
Well, there, I had a niece that was there. We became good friends and kind of talked, and she was leaving the cult as well, marrying outside. So we kind of just built a friendship. And she was doing some cleaning and asked if I'd help her. So I went and helped her, and from there, she let me have some clients, and I went from there. To be honest, they paid me $25 to clean their house.
Yeah.
And I had a need. You know, I have 9 kids. $25 wasn't to do anything. And I was so afraid to go on welfare. They have you so convinced that the United States will not help you. They'll throw you in jail. They'll throw your family. So I never turned to the government for any help. It was me and my children.
Man, there's so much commentary there about how when illegal immigrants or people that are not legal get here, what happens is they get stuck in this weird spot where you can't do things right because it's kind of like, as an employer, are you going to e-verify? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that?
Right.
And it's so unfair to the real people that we don't, I'm a big believer in we need massive increases of legal immigration. We need to make it very easy for people to come here and work instead of this like, well, you can come across and some of our businesses will kind of pay you. Meanwhile, you know what happens? Women get exploited cleaning houses for $25 a clean because you're under the books. It's just unfair. It's dirty. I just wish that there was, anyways.
Well, Ted, what you're saying, it was because of my ignorance and the cult and the brainwashing. It wasn't because I was illegal. I was completely legal, and I should have been able to have every program.
Oh.
My grandparents fought in the war. I have every right to be in this country, but the cult took that from me.
Wow.
So when I'm here, I have the rights, but I'm brainwashed that I don't.
Interesting.
So you asked me what was the first thing I experienced coming to America was freedom, and I got rid of the fear. And then I took on another fear, which we'll talk about more. But at that point, I lost the fear of losing my life. And then the real struggle started. You know, you can go to a field, and if it's all plowed and beautiful, you decide, hey, I'm planting radishes. Throw the seeds and you're planting radishes. It's done, or corn, or whatever you're doing. But go to a field that's full of weeds, there's a lot of work. So in my brain, and in my beliefs, there was a lot of lies and unuseful things. I was a woman. I was to be bred and have children for God and my husband's posterity, and I was insignificant. I couldn't name them. I didn't get to make any decisions for them. I just had to give birth to them. In fact, the name of my book is Sign My Name 9 times because I would have to go when I was pregnant. Most people, women when you're pregnant, you plan the baby's room and the gender, what it's going to be, and all these beautiful things about being a mom for the first time or being a mom for the 9th time. But my practice was, I'm going to have to sign a document. I'm not allowed to learn, be educated, read books. He'd make fun of me if I'd pick up something and read the back of it just because I wanted to see if I could still read English. So I'd go out in the dirt, because we lived in dirt, and I'd practice a signature because I had learned to do handwriting when I was in school. Wow. I hope I'm not messing with this.
You're good.
And I would start spelling Pamela Jones, and I would look at all those, and I would practice and practice because I'm going to sign the document that this child was born to me and I'm her mother or his mother. And so my book is called Sign My Name 9 Times because until my escape, I had only signed my name 9 times.
Wow.
Whereas now, as a business owner, I sign my name hundreds of times.
Yeah.
All the way to the bank.
As a dad of 3 daughters, it's so unreal that people can do that to another human being, and then to just a little girl and a woman, and to do that, it just makes me sick.
But I wasn't a human being. I was just a woman. I was sent by God for His needs. I was His helpmeet and handmaiden. I didn't get to use birth control. That was of the devil. I never got to say, I'm ready to be pregnant. I was pregnant a total of 17 times in 19 years.
Say that again?
17 times in 19 years.
Holy cows.
And I would have conversations with my husband. I'm not ready. I'm exhausted. Ran a full house, worked like you can't imagine, much less malnutrition all the time. I would want to, and that wasn't permitted. No.
Wow. Where was the income from this place coming? Like, is it pretty self-sustaining?
Everyone there are filthy rich.
Oh,
and
really?
That's a subject for another day.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you've left the fear of death and being killed and all these lies, and you're starting to see some liberty and opportunity. You're starting to clean houses. You get a little bit of this. Okay, let's move forward. Walk me through. Cover some ground here. This was like in the 2000s.
This was 2000, the year 2000,
Okay.
Y2K.
So keep going. Tell us the rest.
Okay, so I started to clean the houses, put all the kids in school, started learning some of the big lessons. I went and opened my first bank account to understand how America worked. I put my name on my first leased building, and I can't believe they even leased me, or a home. They leased it to me. I was so illiterate. I had no referrals. What was that? What did that word even mean? I mean, I didn't know how to spell English. I could spell Spanish. I'd read everything in Spanish, and I would try to guess how to spell it in English because I wasn't able to spell English.
Yeah.
I mean, what would I use that for? I'm only having kids and taking care of them. So I start this very illiterate and very ignorant beginning, humble we'll call it, beginning. But I was so eager to learn. I had made a promise to myself the day I left that colony that I would never say no to anything that this girl wanted to learn or do, as long as it was legal and it was healthy. I mean, I've said no to alcohol and drugs and a lot of those kind of things out there, but I never said no to opportunity to learn. So now the first little while we rest because I'm exhausted, mentally and physically worn out. So all I did the first, you're going to laugh, I believe, the first, I think was 3 to 6 months, right in there, was eat. And as soon as I would have a meal, I start thinking of what the next meal was going to be. Because
you're just out of this, you're not used to being able to eat.
I'm so hungry.
Wow.
Even if I'm eating, I'm so hungry. You don't realize, that we talk about hunger, and that could be a whole nother subject. But you think once you eat, you're not hungry. But there's a hunger when you go off long enough just eating pigweed, turnips, carrots, weebled beans, and I would make bread from scratch, stone ground wheat and the whole thing. That kind of eating, and you're so hungry for what you think food is, cheese and you name whatever it is. You come here, I couldn't get enough of it.
Interesting.
And I was anorexic thin, and I was still breastfeeding my baby when I left.
Wow.
So
which that's like 500 calories, 1,000 calories, like that's.
Yeah. So I'm just eating, and I can't wait to the next meal. And I'm already thinking, and hopefully we'll have a sandwich. Like, that's what we're gonna do. So the first few months, I just was at peace with the kids. I didn't even start cleaning, to be honest. My boys started drywalling, and I had a brother that was helping me out, who was here in Minnesota.
So you're just getting stuff done. The boys are drywalling, learning how to add value.
The kids are in school.
You're like, let's keep cleaning, let's keep adding value.
Yes.
You see opportunity.
Let's just keep eating and let's get going. At the time, I'm not thinking of a business. That's never entered my mind. I'm trying to stay off of welfare. And when my kids qualified for free lunches, I was just like, scared first, and then, okay, that's great. So we do this. My oldest son comes home for a little while because he was in Colorado when I left, and then he comes to Minnesota.
Okay.
And now my second son is leaving to Minnesota, and something in me says, no. I did not leave that cult to be without my children. So it's February. That's the perfect month to move to Minnesota. So it's
Doesn't
February.
get any worse than February.
It's February. I load up all the kids in, what did I own, a Suburban, and I put a U-Haul. I don't know why we didn't leave all that stuff there. But while I was there, to tell you, while I was there, we would dumpster dive for food.
Wow.
And we got all of our bedding and most of our furniture. You'd go to these furniture stores where people would bring in their furniture, and then they bring in their mattresses and old beds, and then they take their new stuff. So when it was closing hours, I'd go back there. We'd strap these mattresses on my van, and so all my kids had wonderful beds. And I'm a cleaner, so I could get any stain out. And before you know it, we have a nice home. The first thing I purchased was a TV, believe it or not, on a credit card. So I would go to my mailbox, and I would see all of this mail with Pamela Jones's name on that. And I missed my family. I missed everything I knew. I didn't give anybody my number so that my ex-husband couldn't get a hold of me or whatever. And here I'm getting mail, and I'm so thankful. And I feel that I'm connected, that people are thinking about me. Someone thought about me and said, 2 Arby burgers for the price of 1, and they wanted Pamela Jones to have that.
Wow.
They knew how much I wanted a hamburger.
It's like
and
you're so starved for just basic recognition that even the mail.
And to be honest, the mail meant everything to me. Now, I didn't understand junk mail. I really thought that those people were thinking about me.
No
Here
kidding.
I had left my whole family, everybody I knew, and strangers were thinking about me. And that's part of my story of thinking we all need to feel connected and that we mattered. Now, looking back, it makes me laugh, but at the time, I'm sure I didn't mean anything to them. They probably didn't even know one thing about me. Of course they didn't. But to me, I meant everything to them. Because every day they would send me something.
That's
I mean, they
interesting.
woke up and thought, I'm sending Pamela Jones credit card applications. Well, I filled them out. Before you know it, I had 13 credit cards. I didn't know how that worked.
Wow.
I was just going to buy tires for the car that needed, and I was going to take care of my kids. So it's just so beautiful how innocent I was.
Yeah.
And my faith, so I know God had my back and had a plan. And I just kept saying yes. Oh, credit card, yes. Credit card, yes. That wasn't a good idea, but for me at the time, I thought it was. So that's kind of how I started.
Then you get up to Minnesota.
Then my kids left, so we came to Minnesota.
Okay.
And my brother let me live. I lived in Lakeville in a beautiful home.
Yep.
And then that's where I started my business.
Okay. So now, little new chapter here.
Right.
And I love entrepreneurship. Just so you know, like I've always been, since the moment I saw you, I used to do little rants to other customers. Like I help a lot of accountants, and accountants are always doing B2B. So they're selling to businesses as well, right? And when I tell them, I'm like, folks, entrepreneurship is this path where it's not easy. You got to get sales and execute. You got to find people that have a problem and then do it. Right? And that's not easy. And then you have to execute in such a way that you're worthy of trust, that you're credible because you're actually getting results. And I remember when I got around you and I'm like, these guys, like, quote unquote, anybody can clean, but not really. Not really in such a way that you would want to continuously choose you over and over and over. And as I got to know you and the team, to hear about, like, it wasn't just cleaning houses, you're creating margin in people's lives. You're helping people feel proud about their home. You're getting rid of that messy house guilt that people have. Right. And you empower people to actually connect with their family members better. So what's funny is these simple acts of it's just cleaning, but it's not just cleaning. As I got to know you more, it was like, this is like super deep. You're empowering people to connect with their family better, to feel better, like have more friends over and do more with their life out of simple stuff. But okay, so now you get to Lakeville.
Right.
And so walk us through, because it's 2023 now. And so this is like 2005?
This is 2001.
2001.
I came the following year.
Okay.
And the story is so deep, but I come because most of my family's here. My mom's kids are here. And I was taken from them when I was 15 and wasn't allowed to see them because they were worldly and they were Gentiles. So I missed them. I was the oldest daughter. I had raised most of the kids and potty trained them. Pretty soon most of them are here, and I'm super excited about that. So I come here, my sons are here. We set up camp, we put the kids in school, life starts. And then I realized, like, things not so great like I thought it would be. Most of my family would not answer the phone, and I was not invited over, and things were not the way I thought they were going to be. Later on, I figured out why, but at the time I didn't know. So I think, oh, they just don't know me. I haven't been around for 19 years, and I never took things personal. And I would, like I said, I was really naive. I was just happy-go-lucky. Nothing was ever personal, and that really helped me. So I'm still doing that, and I'm cleaning a house here and there. Just let's see how I got my first client. We passed out some flyers. Oh, I remember now. I went to the Mormon church. I was church hunting. So I went to the Mormon church because that was familiar.
Yeah.
I went to the Mormon church, met a lady there. She was cleaning houses. She had me help her, and then she helped me make my first flyer. Wow. And I passed out 200 of those flyers, and it was a Sunday when I got my first call. I remember that lady like no tomorrow. I remember kissing the floor. Like I couldn't kiss the floor enough of how much gratitude I had because I was going to do my first cleaning. And so I started there, word of mouth, got a few more calls, and that's how I started. At the time, my prayer was like, God, just help me make enough money to pay my rent. My sons are helping me at the time and giving me money every weekend, and I have a brother that's still helping me. So my first month goes by, and I make enough for my rent and enough for my car payment and a little bit of jam and butter for my bread. And I'm like, what? This is amazing. So from there, and I'm cleaning by myself, so I keep going. I never say no. And here I am cleaning 11 houses a week. So I have about 22 clients.
Wow.
And I'm just cleaning. I'm not thinking of a business. And I had people ask, do you want to make a business? Oh, no. I just want to clean and go home. And it's so funny is that something was going on at the time. And I said, oh, I only need $150 a day. I couldn't spend more money than that, just like I thought the credit card would support me forever. Anyway, so I'm building that, working, doing that, have 11 houses, and it's getting to be more than I can handle. And I don't know how to say no because by referral, I just keep being referred. And so I start picking up my daughters from school at 2:20 every afternoon, and we clean the next house. So they started helping me, and little by little, they started joining.
That's good. Now, did they like it at first?
I think they love their mama and they love being with me. Yeah. They trusted me, and I think it was fun for us to be together and them being with me, like, hey, here, take this, do that, whatever it was. But I don't really think they liked it.
I always tell kids, you got to do hard things.
Yeah.
Like if you had it your way, you'd sit there and watch the iPad all day.
Yeah.
Because guess what? That's probably what I would do if I had it my way, if I didn't pursue my dreams and do stuff. So I always laugh, like, kids should do hard stuff. I think kids should start working. I'm a little different.
I believe
think ninth grade,
too.
you should be working hard.
I believe that too. So they didn't like it. They didn't. But my kids they're really good to me. Yeah. But it took them probably, I don't know exactly how long, but I'd say they got high school age, maybe just after that. So say they were 18 or 19, right around that age, when there was a gratitude like beyond anything for what I had done for them and what I had instilled in them and what I had saved them from, and then the life that they were going to be able to live by devoting their time to helping me. So, and I've only heard great things since then. Like, it's the best thing that ever happened to them. Yeah. And it's not to brag, because they go and they meet a lot of their friends that were in school at the same time they were, and they would come home and said, oh, we were going to go to Louis for dinner, some fancy whatever, the girls in their heels and dresses, because they have money, mom's paying all the bills. And no one can buy that, and everybody's watching their money. Like, they didn't understand how blessed they were that mom had all their bills, bought them their cars, and they had spending money. Not every American had that kind of money, and they're like, that was, they didn't want to buy this, and they'd watch their money. So I thought that was funny. And then they got married, or they left home, and then reality hit, and they stopped going to Louis for dinner. And they stopped buying their lattes, and they started watching their money as well. But it was a fun experience. There was lots of tears, and there was a lot of heartache, and we met a lot of our clients, became family. Someone would pass away, we would get the notice, and our new babies were born, or sickness. We've gone through a lot of life trials with our clients.
Because you're getting to know them, you're in their life, you see their house, you know how they're, I always laugh when I had the accounting firm, it's like, we kind of know how people's life, like if we sit there in your bank account, we can see, you almost see you're up in there. up in their house. Like, you know exactly, like, wow, that toilet's always dirty. Like, you know everything that's going on in their life to a degree. And I'm not saying you guys are not to sound bad, but I bet you have deep connections with a lot of your, not everybody, I'm sure. But
I had a conversation with my now husband, and he was telling me something, and I told him, he was bragging about some great person he knew. And then we, let me think, I won't mention his name, but he was the general manager for the Wiles.
Oh, yeah.
And they were my client. And he starts talking about him. Something was going on in the news or some game. I don't remember. It was a while back.
Yeah.
And he was bragging, like how he kind of knew him.
Client.
No, he didn't know it was my client. Okay. He was bragging about him. Oh, blah, 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 whatever he was saying. I said, oh, yeah. I said, but do you know the color of the tile in his bathroom? And he looks at me and said, he's my client.
Guess the color
so I know more about him than you do.
That's
and he kind of laughed. And we have a lot of the Vikings are our clients. And it's fun because people will talk about them. They say, oh, yeah, they're our like Thielen and his family, they were our client for a long time.
That's cool.
Maybe you can edit that out. But we have a lot of people that are our clients. We have a lot of politicians that are our clients, and have lots and lots of good stories that we probably have to seal our mouth.
That's cool.
Because our client's business is no one else's business.
What I love about your story, so okay, so here we are, 2023. You guys have done a little rebrand, but it's really, what I think is so cool is this idea of continuous improvement. Toyota has, the Elegant Solution. There's a book by one of the founders of Toyota, and they have this principle called Kaizen, and it's like you always are improving. It's the Lean Six Sigma in engineering. They're like, how do we make everything 2% better every year consistently over time? And what I think is cool is, as I've watched, I interacted with you when we did accounting stuff with you, 7-8 years ago or whatever it was, and to see where you are now, what I think I've noticed about what you've done is you've really figured out that, like, here's where we can be most valuable to people. And it's people that need margin in their life. And I don't mean to sound like, oh, I've got so much money. As a business owner and an entrepreneur, where it's me, my wife, I got a couple of employees, my time is so stupidly valuable to me as my kids are growing like as fast as, for me to spend a couple $100 a week or $500-600, like, to redeem a day is worth thousands to me now.
Exactly.
Like, I don't have any margin in my life in terms of, like, it's God, wife, kids, church, business. That's it. And to be able to have people that come in and add, now my dad retired, so he comes and, like, does the handyman projects.
Yeah.
I'm pathetic. I was like, okay, I can make a website, or I could go fix that thing over there. And I'm like, or I can call Dad and, like, maybe throw him some extra fun.
Yeah.
But I think, as the reason why I'm bringing this up is, as you've moved forward, you guys aren't the everyday cleaner. Mm-hmm. And it's not because you're like, oh, we don't want to work with people without a lot of money. It's because you've found out there are people who want to connect deeply with their family. There are people that need more margin in their life. And generally, they're higher earners. Or they're generally in a spot, and I always say there's 5 stages of business ownership, or even professionalism, right? I think there's folks out there that are CEOs that are, maybe not CEOs. I don't know. I think us entrepreneurs are extra special. Like,
I do too.
I'm totally like
I'm
that.
biased too.
Yeah. But maybe some of these folks that work for the big corporations, but it's like you're dreaming of moving, you start your own business and you kind of get going, and then you build a team around you, and then the income rises and the stakes are heavier. You got to hire and fire people. You need more sales. And when you're a business owner and you get to these places, all of a sudden your time is just so taxed. And the more you can empower and hire other people and get the help that you understand that it's about building a team around you. And to a degree, exclusive services is that. You're a part of a family's team that comes in and helps them to have the margin in their life. And I think that that's super fantastic. So now we're at this point where you've kind of learned some lessons in like, okay, where's this? So you get to this point where you're working with families that are generally business owners, maybe more executives, because they need that margin in their life. Talk us through more of that journey. Am I on spot there?
Yeah, you are right on spot. What I was going to add to what you're saying is that through this experience, what we've learned is I am not doing the cleaning. I've raised my children. They're here. They're not doing the cleaning. Mm. It's my employees. Mm-hmm. And I would say what makes me different than most other cleaning companies is I truly pour a lot into my employees. Mm-hmm. I have my motivational speaking with them. I look for every which way I can bless the communities that they're in. their needs. We have lots of different little programs to work with them because they are taking care of my clients, which takes care of me, which helps me to, in return, take care of them. I pay them well. I give them time off. I bonus them. I do whatever it takes to keep their spirits up and keep them realizing what an honor it is for them to work with such an amazing team. So yeah, we take care of our clients, myself, my children that work the front office, but we really do take care of our employees because they're the ones that are adding value to our clients through training, educating them, teaching them, showing them how we do things different. I'm a perfectionist. I like things done a certain way. It matters to me. Someone says, it doesn't matter, it's clean. It does matter. It does matter. Coming into a home, if you're having some hardships at home during the week and some negative hardships, we might say, it's going to pour over and someone's going to come home and feel like it feels off, in this home. So we're really connected to the community where our cleaners come from, being that I'm Hispanic from birth. I have great communication skills with my team. So I really feel like that is what's really helped me. Yeah, I can say all about my website, all about my children that run my office and our products and our space and everything and our training and whatever we do. But truly the value is my employees who I feel next to my children are my grandkids, of course. They're my next most special asset in my company.
That's cool.
And I take pride in saying I have, 30 employees and they love me. They've been here for years. And to me, I look at them with such gratitude because you know what? I will bless your life, your community, where you're coming from, because we all have to work.
Yep.
We all have a job.
Yep.
But
you've gone and got these customers that have a problem, and you can connect folks that know how to solve that together.
Right.
Now, I got a question. You said you're a perfectionist, okay?
Yes, I am.
And I just had this conversation. I have my third daughter who's 6 years old. So I played Division I football for 1 year. I didn't play. I was on the practice squad. I was an athlete. I was a decent athlete. I'm a firstborn. I'm kind of I think I know how things should be done. I'm a perfectionist in some ways. In some areas, I'm not. But I'm kind of a hard man. There's a side of me, with my kids, I'm get better, get better.
Right.
And I have this almost sickness, and I think entrepreneurs get this. So you learn how to clean, you learn how to set yourself apart, you learn how to get referrals. You're obviously delivering and you're credible. You're getting all these results. You teach your daughters to do that. And now you bring in team members. You're a perfectionist. How do you balance riding their tails, encouraging them to do better? Because truly, you have to make sure that those little things are done. Talk to me about how do you deliver a little bit better than everybody else, but how do you not drive your team nuts? And how do you make them still like you? Because I know I know in the back of my head, if I could display all the words in my head as I see my team's work, all I ever see is the holes. I'm just hardwired that way. I know exactly why this should change and that should change. And if I started chiming on that, we'd be over. They would not want to work. How do you make sure that your team is delivering results that are differentiated, that are worth a higher dollar, and still have them like you? How do you do that?
Well, I can do that, but I will tell you how. First of all, being a perfectionist is a downside. It's not a good thing to have. As you just said, a couple of examples, you suffer from those, riding someone's tail.
Critical
Are you
nature.
happy? Are you enjoying it? Are you just letting things be? So that, I have to take care of that. And I work with that, and I've learned how to manage that I'm unreasonable in my expectations. So I can't put that on my clients.
Wow, hold on. You've learned that you're unreasonable in your expectations?
Yes.
That's huge growth. That sentence alone is freaking huge.
Well, I'm old. I had to learn something. So that was the first thing. Then second of all, and I believe this, through example. How do I teach them to do a good job and to meet the standards of my girl's house clean? We're not talking about Pamela Jones, because that's a whole nother thing. But of our company is through example. And the vehicles we provide, the products we provide, the uniforms, everything is top quality. And then we have a way that we checklist how they take care of our stuff. we're not writing them, we're showing them. This is a new vacuum. You ran over the cord. This is going to cost the company this kind of money. Please use a little, what can we do to help you? Did you not notice? Do you need, we always offer the help. What do you need to understand how this works? Oh, I didn't know that's how that, whatever it is, right? So I think through example.
You try and teach, example.
It's through example, and then on top of that, there's always recognition for what they've done great, which 99.9% of the time, or let's be realistic, 90% of the time, they're doing an amazing job. They show up clean, happy, positive, going into the home. My girl's house cleaning, a little bit of an accent, but still, I think it's so cute. And they're here, joyful, happy, and to me, that's how I keep them here. I see them as an equal. When we get together, we have our Christmas parties, we play Steal the Bacon, whatever it is we're doing back there. They come to my home. I'm always asking about their kids. I remember their names. I know what's going on. They tell me about the quinceañera and invite me to this, invite me to that, talk about all the foods that they're making for different holidays. We just connect.
All right, so now I got a question.
Go.
That sounds good. Tell me some times when you've missed the mark on that.
Okay, I'll tell you time I missed the mark on that. I'll tell you when it was a while back. But when I was in a situation that I was so desperate for negligent on my part as a business owner, that I got myself into some mess, that I was desperate and scared, and I wasn't standing up and confronting the issues that I had. I just got scared about it, was spinning my wheels. Then I didn't do the proper things to hire and give the support to my team that I should have. And I knew I wasn't, and I turned a blind eye to that. And I would see maybe for an example, some of the uniforms. And I thought, man, if I saw that person walking up to my house, that would scare me. And I turned a blind eye because I was so desperate. And I was desperate because of bad management. So that's one of my...
It's hard management. People don't understand often how hard it is to get sales, execute. Like it's easy. Okay, do you want a hamburger? Yes. Okay, I'll make you a hamburger. Well, now I got to... Let's get the restaurant and the place and the thing to make the hamburger. Like, hey, do you want me to clean your house? Yes, let's clean your house. Then it's like, okay, when you start to scale and you start to get other people that are going to, again, you're finding people that have this problem. I believe you're providing a solution. You're finding a place for these people to come in and work and to add value in the economy. And like, I'm a capitalist. There's a lot of people like, you're exploiting labor. Nonsense. Try and go get sales. Try and go get sales and execute and provide a nice way that folks can come in and do their job. But when you start to scale, like there's difficulties in there. Like it's not as easy as what people think it is. And management, leading, managing, continuously improving and establishing systems. Those are all it's easy to manage when the system's already there. Like if I were to buy a franchise and the systems are, like I worked at Best Buy, here's our SOPs. Like that was easy. Now imagine you're like making your own Best Buy. You don't have SOPs. You know how it should work, but you're training everybody to do it. And then meanwhile, you're trying to like write all this down and like, it's just a lot to handle. Right. And then so you have these times where like your management and the different things hurt. And then it's cool to hear that you like kind of identified some spots that caused you to lose sight of what it sounds like you could have done even more for your employee during that time is what you're saying.
Well, life happens to you as an entrepreneur and as a human.
Yeah.
Life happens to us. Which happens to everybody, but when you're an entrepreneur, sometimes you almost feel like you can't be human. Like I lost a granddaughter and I had to grieve. And when I went through that grieving process, none of my clients know this, but I lost most of my employees because, something's going on and they could feel it and someone else offered them something better. And a lot of my clients fell through the cracks because we were all grieving. That's the hard thing about owning a family business is because something happens, it affects the foundation. Yeah. We got through it in flying colors, but at the time, anything that happens to us in life as an entrepreneur right away affects your business. Unless you can be smart enough or work along.
It just takes extra effort to get the systems and other people.
Well, to get it to where it doesn't depend on me. Yeah. Whatever I'm going through, and maybe my children are going through, the company just doesn't even know they're going. But because I'm so hands-on and we're such a family with my employees and my front office, I don't know if I'll ever get there. Yeah. We're always going to be like, something happens, one of my employees, her house burned down. I mean, it affected us.
Yeah.
It affected us that day, that whole week, and she needed a place to live, and we got together and started raising money for her. And we were just talking about her as though she was an aunt to the kids. Did you know whatever, say Maria was her name without saying her name. She's going through this, I took her this week. And right away, it affected our everyday, whatever, everything that goes on here.
Everything, yeah. And
everything goes on, yeah. So that's one of the things, I don't know if you experience it as an entrepreneur. Sometimes I feel like there's not enough grace as an entrepreneur to say, you know what, I might be just having a bad day, or I'm struggling, or I too could be going through whatever, I worked out at the gym and everything hurts and I'm going to be walking a little slower today. I'm sorry. And nothing's, I don't know.
And when it's your life, see, this is the other thing. It's easy to say that, and like somebody outside of that might be thinking, oh, it's so hard, but you get to do your own thing. Well, it's on year 5. Like year 1, year 2, like you keep it up, you never have bad days. Okay, you keep going. The bad days come, you're like, I'll suck it up. Then all of a sudden you're like, I'm tired. Like, it's hard. That's why I don't do very many. Again, it's like God, wife, kids.
Right.
Church, business for us right now. I need to do more sustaining fitness stuff, but like it gets hard, and I'm not complaining. It's great. I love it. It's the choice we made, right?
Absolutely.
But that sustaining it nonstop. Nonstop. It's like.
But you have this goal in sight that we will hit the peak and we will start to go down on this. And that's where I'm at now. I have already pushed the train and I did it along with my kids all the way up that hill. And now, I'm retired, you might say, and doing what I love, which I love sharing my story. And I've been writing my memoir, and I love speaking in public. That's my goal. I hope to be on a ton of podcasts and just share anything I can to inspire and motivate people that maybe they're not trying to be an entrepreneur, but maybe they just want to do that little jewelry thing that on their
take autonomy in your life. Like, you can do stuff.
If it's not in you, don't worry about it. But if it's there and it's knocking every little while, hey, I really want to create this thing, I would say go for it. Whether it's you want to write your story, whatever it is you want to do. I want to inspire you, say a woman with 9 kids, a cult survivor with $5 bill, became a multimillionaire from eating pigweed to caviar, which I don't like caviar, but I can eat caviar. And there was a lot of lessons. And to be honest, I'm sitting here, we're not alone. We have a lot of things in common as entrepreneurs. Real different, but like we can relate. I get it. I have one other son that owns a big business, and I said, most people don't understand how much sleep we've lost over this big change. And it feels like it feels kind of scary and kind of negative for a few minutes, but something big is coming and you have to weather the storm. Yes, it would be easy to do a 9-to-5 job and you just open your bank account and you're on this automatic deposit. And
there's a place for that for people.
40 hours a week. Yeah, and that's great. I'm not saying it's not, but I've heard so many people say, I want to start my own business. I think, hold on to that. Let's inspire you and get you motivated. And let's see how this goes. And then it'll take off.
See, this is what I love about you, and I mean this. Your commitment to family, commitment to morality and integrity, and getting it done. There's a lot of people right now that I think get preyed upon in the internet. There are folks out there selling all sorts of schemes. You buy my program, I'm going to make you a millionaire. You start realizing, what you do is you buy my program, I'll make you a millionaire because I'll give you a spiff of you selling my program to make other people a millionaire, where you can make money. It's just these pyramid schemes. You added value. Like, if you want to know how a pyramid scheme is it something that Walmart sells and you're paying triple for it? You're probably in a pyramid scheme. If it's something that like all you're doing is you're selling the dream of entrepreneurship, you're probably in a pyramid scheme. But you're saying that the dream and the opportunity to go out and create something, it's almost like a painting. Like My Girls is a painting that you've brought to be, right? You got to make the strokes and try it and everything, but you did it. And so many people right now are getting preyed upon on, you can start a business, you can have your own thing. It's not just that. It's also putting in the freaking work to add value into somebody's life, or to come up with a tool that adds value into somebody's life. Entrepreneurship, there's this thing right now that's happened in society, and sorry if I'm assuming you're on the same track, but where it's like, I think people need help in government, but there's a lot of people that are like, we should move towards a socialist system where like you hiring somebody and making profit off of her labor is exploitative. And I'm like, that is bull snot. You went out and you're finding people with problems. You've taken the risk. You've taken the hits on the chin, because as we know, there's all sorts of stuff that has happened in the last 12 years that you got to wrestle through.
Yeah.
But what happens is there's this dependency thing, and I think it's because in schools, and God bless our teachers, they're so good at some things, but there's a spot, and I think it's right around 5th, 6th, 7th grade, where if you don't give people autonomy to go out into the broad world and try to pull together something you love, or at least produce, I think you're cheating yourself.
Exactly.
And I look at what built America. Was there racism? Yup. Was there slavery? Yup. Does capitalism have warts? I don't know. I could go on to that. I don't think there really is. But ultimately, these were like my ancestors came here in like the 1890s. They got recruited, so it's German, Norwegian, Swedish, right?
Okay.
They all got recruited to come over and farm. They needed people to come up into this new land that they had, probably exploitative, right? But nobody knew how to farm in this frigid tundra. So they all came to North Dakota, and they all kind of gave the land away because they kind of had to get something out. But you think about what that took. It's almost like what you did. You leave everything you know.
You do.
And now some of them had savings, but most of these folks just came across, they didn't have anything but their people, their hands, and their ingenuity to build a machine of a business or of a farm or of whatever that is. And I think people don't understand that. I think there's greatness inside of everybody.
I believe that. But
your foolishness, your laziness, your sin gets in the way of you being able to, and you gotta be wise, you gotta be sure, you gotta be ever learning. I always laugh, like I do websites, marketing, video. Guess how much of this I knew how to do 12 years ago? None. In fact, I had a buddy, Wise Rents, down in Mankato, who wanted me to make him a website back in 2003. I'm like, I don't know how to do that.
Right.
And I'm like, here I am, I'm making dozens of websites a month. So this is just my commentary on what I love is all that story. People should be inspired that if you want to make it, go do what Pamela did. Go find someone you can help clean houses.
Right.
You want to start a business? Go find the guy that's got a contracting business. Learn his business.
Exactly.
Go fit, like that's what you did. You worked in a business, you found out how to do it, you found out how to do it better. You went and got some clients. You got some reps. You built some credibility. I have some friends, Groundworks, we're doing a lot of YouTube videos with them. They're excavators. And they're like, crawl, walk, run. In business, you crawl, you walk, you run. And everything they do, you start with just building credibility. And your story is just riddled with that and filled with that.
I want to add something to what you're saying.
Yeah.
In the beginning of this video or whatever it is, I said I had lived 34 years in fear. Then I got free and escaped and got freedom, and then I entered a new fear. And I said, well, there's more about that later, so I'm going to put it here with what you just said. I did all those things we're talking about, but the one ingredient you didn't mention was it was fear. I was scared out of my wits to be rejected, to the IRS, to the language barriers, to my ignorance, to technology, to even, how do you put a video out there? I was so scared. I lived in fear of my life. Now I was in fear of failure and going hungry and ending up under a bridge or whatever my story was. Or people were going to find me out. They're going to see that I'm a fraud. I'm just a nobody. I don't know anything, and I really don't have the answers, but I love what I do, and I love people, and I love giving the gift of a clean home to every single American if I could, but I can't. But I did it afraid. And that's one thing that I would honestly tell you has been the biggest hardship, yet the biggest gift was doing it afraid. And I can't tell you, I think the first time I met you boys and you walked into my office how many years ago, I was afraid. You wouldn't have known that. I knew you were going to see a mess that I couldn't get out of. And I wasn't going to be able to keep my poker face and say, hey, I got it together. Because my needs and the family and the responsibility I had outweighed my productivity at the time and my education and what I had learned about being an entrepreneur. I knew how to be a mother and I knew how to clean houses, but I didn't know much about being an entrepreneur at the time. So I honestly think with what those three little things you just said a minute ago, fear is another one and one of the biggest ones. And it's public speaking, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. I mean, fear is a strong emotion that actually creates amazing things. So to your audience and who you were just talking to, you want to get out there, you want to move, you want to create and motivate or whatever, innovate or whatever. Don't let fear stop you.
That's huge.
Fear is just letting you know that there's something on the other side of this wall. And fear is saying, this is comfortable. 9 to 5 is comfortable. Not making our widgets or our cakes or our whatever it is that we want to sell. This is comfortable. I'll just keep it out there and dream. And fear comes in because there's greatness on the other side of the wall, that wall. There really is. But we have to push through it. And that is my biggest success.
That's huge.
And I had to escape a cult and push through that fear. Had I stayed because I didn't want to die, I mean, there's nothing left. Once you're dead, right? Here, my first day dealing with the IRS, they're knocking on my door, and I'm like, well, who are you? I had never had to talk to them. I paid for someone else to deal with them and clean up my mess. I had to pick up that phone. I was scared because of my mess and what I, had done, and they're going to know, and now how am I going to pay them the money? And they were the nicest people ever.
That's so interesting.
But I had to do it afraid. Pick up a phone call and someone saying, I'm not happy because you left your mop bucket behind. I'm afraid. Oh my goodness. And you do it. You just.
What are some of the most fear? So I think you described two that have been kind of fearful. Just as you do business, you got accounting stuff that goes on, and every once in a while it's like, oh, we made mistakes. We had to do stuff. Whatever. But what are some of the most fearful? What are the biggest fears you've had to face and push through? Like besides, you described the beginning one.
Yeah.
What are some other fears that people might not think of?
I think my fear was of not being able to grow with the times. Like, was I going to be able to look? Everything's digital. How was I going to? I wasn't going to go back to school and learn all this digital. Thank goodness I have kids. But the digital, money and how money's forever changing. The stock market, lowering, the cost of everything, inflation. I think the pandemic was a perfect example. That was a very fearful time.
Yeah, especially
the whole
for a house
world,
cleaning
for the whole.
What was that like, if you mind me asking? Like, because I know there was some support for businesses like you, but there's also like.
I'll be very honest. To be honest, those 2 years were the biggest blessing of my life.
How so?
First of all, I got through a pandemic and didn't die.
Right.
I stayed in business, and obviously I received help. So I felt connected to my country, that they were looking out for me, and I was able to take care of my employees because I was so worried about my employees. Like, if I don't have work for you, how are you going to feed your family?
Yeah.
So I figured it out to have them even come in. They would come in and not even work because we were shut down. And I'd have them rotate and come in anyways, and they'd sweep back there. And then we had some offices we had to take care of and a few things. And I tried to keep them busy, but I'd pay them their 35 hours, even if they would only been here 10 hours, because I didn't want to lose them and I wanted them to be able to take care of their families. But during that time, I think I learned, I always told the story, if someone would have told me 10 years ago, there's going to be a pandemic and everybody's going to wear masks and people are going to be dying and you're going to believe the social media of all the stuff that's going on and your business is going to be closed down, I would have packed my bags and ran to the hills and been ready for the apocalypse, and I'd been ready for the rapture or whatever's out there. And when it happened, it just got me to see that it was really scary, but the whole world was scary at the time.
Yeah.
But at the time, I'll tell you, and this is really not cliche, it's true, I felt at peace because I was not alone. I was not the only business going through this. So it wasn't what I was doing where I had failed. So that took a big piece of fear or suffering off, knowing that we were all going through that, and I got through it just fine, which all of us did, or a lot of us did.
Did you have a lot of fear with your first houses you cleaned on your own? Or was that like, I got this?
The first few houses, well, you don't know my story, but I strapped my baby, yes, so I was afraid they'd catch me. I strapped my baby to my back and take her with me.
Seriously?
I did.
See, I remember when both of our businesses we started, it was like, I saw these opportunities, I'm like, let's go find some people to do this for. Like our first website that I did, there's 2 of them, and I'm like, I think I did it right. Like, it's so fearful to actually, it's like I've done it a bunch on my own, and now I'm actually doing it professionally, and that idea that you said that fear will freeze you. So here you are, you had a child.
No one to watch her, so I'd strap her to my back. I'd time when they would leave their home.
Awesome.
Now, if anybody's watching this podcast and I did this at your house, I never let you down, and thank you. And she's married now, so we're good.
That's awesome.
But I strapped her to my back, kind of saying, which was really my chest, and she was almost 2, so she was a big girl.
kids will survive. Are you kidding me? Our ancestors were out in the...
Yeah, I'd sit her up at the table, I'd bring her snacks, and
1810.
she must have felt that we were not in our home and she wasn't running around playing. She'd sit wherever I put her. And I would go so fast to get that house done. You know, a house that would take me 4 hours, I'd get it done in 2 hours and 40 minutes and get out of there. I got caught a few times, so that was one of my fears.
Yeah.
But as...
That is amazing. Just so you know, like, you just found a way. Like, so that's a big barrier that you have a kid. I think in American society today, I hate to be like, oh, kids are this and, oh, the new generation is this. But folks see little barriers. And it's like, oh, I couldn't do this because of X, Y, Z. You went and cleaned houses with a kid on your back. You made it happen. And that's a differentiator. Like, that's just a differentiator. You just damn the torpedoes and go. Oh. Like, just do it. That's,
well, yeah, I'd get there, and their vacuum cleaners wouldn't work. They're so plugged up with dog hair, dirt, humidity.
Oh, like the customers?
The customers, and most people say, oh, leave a note, I'm sorry, your vacuum cleaner, but didn't work. But not me. I sit down there. I had never taken a vacuum cleaner apart, but I took their vacuum cleaner, and I cleaned everything out because I was not going to let anything stop me from doing my job.
That's awesome.
I was so committed to making this happen. They run out of cleaning supplies, whatever. I'd go find their vinegar. I knew vinegar could clean the floors. I would figure it out. And to be honest, I had a need. I needed to feed my kids.
Yeah.
It wasn't because I would like to say I'm a little angel and I just love doing my work so well.
I just want to do it for free all
No,
day.
the truth is I needed that paycheck.
Yeah.
I was raising 9 kids and they had a lot of needs. And I was not getting help from their father in any which way. He not only an absentee father, he's totally had nothing to do with them. So I had to take that on, and that was hard. And I had to be paid. So kudos for me. I had that thing
That's
pushing
grit.
me.
That's grit. People just don't always, not only do you have the grit to do it, like you went out, you looked past the barriers, you got it done, you got the customer, you made it, you're making things happen. And folks, I think that's the key to entrepreneurship. Like the big difference is you're going to make sure that the thing you've promised, that you follow through on our promise. We pray this at our table all the time to my kids. God, allow us the favor of our clients and help us to follow through on every promise we made. Because it's cheap and easy to go through and make promises.
Right.
Like how easy could you, in fact, I had somebody we hired once to clean our house. They got done. They're like, oh, I couldn't do this. I'm like,
but that's not
really?
what you said.
Like the only reason why I hired you is because what you told me you would do. And I was like, it was just bizarre. So I just admire that. And obviously, another thing that I keep in my mind, I keep coming to that I think is unique that you said, when you have to pick up the phone with a job you've not delivered on.
Right.
That moment, that's fearful. You know, when you do big business, we've helped literally probably 150 some odd businesses in the last 3 or 4 years. And I'll have people that get the 1-star review on Google and they're just, what do I do? And I'm like, you do business, it's going to happen. I worked at Best Buy and we were really good at Best. Like I was really good at making sure you found the right computer. But every once in a while, you'd have someone come in and sometimes we drop the promise. Yep, we didn't execute. There's reasons, but like I should have executed. You got to eat that. But sometimes it's like you deal with unreasonable people too. Oh, and sometimes people are just lunatics and you got to deal with it.
Oh my goodness.
But I mean, that thing you mentioned where you're like, the fear of picking up the phone when you've dropped it. Like that's where I think the fact that came up in your conversation shows the kind of leader you are. And it shows that you're real. And as people have businesses like that, when you drop the ball on that, pick it up, face that thing, that monster, that, because it's easy to punt. In fact, there's a lot of people, they'll keep, I'll close that business down because I got the, and they'll just keep reopening businesses as they make promises and fail. In fact, there's a person that I've talked to in the last couple of months where I'm like, as I peel back the layers, I'm like, you're a liar. You're claiming one thing, you do not do that thing. And I'm like,
right.
Don't do that. But here, when you take ownership to pick that phone up on a house clean that it doesn't go well, those are hard things.
Well, what I was going to add to what you're saying is there's, like you say, you have these clients that are unreasonable and all these stories, which we do have those kind of clients. But to be honest, when you pick that phone up and you're vulnerable and you be held accountable and answer and say, okay, and make it right, whatever it is, that's all people want.
Mm-hmm.
Good Absolutely. Clients, all they want to know is that you cared, that something happened, and you pick it up, how can I fix that in any which way? Instead of avoiding it, you call and they don't answer, you call and they don't answer. You know, that happens a lot in business owners, that they just think, oh, we didn't quite finish something or get something done, or we dropped the ball. We're not going to answer that, or we'll have someone else answer, or say I'm out of town, or say they can't get a hold of me. All these stories, not us. We answer, and and I feel like 9 times out of 10, that's all your client wants to know. Is that you're aware of it, that you'll make it right, that you either give them for the inconvenience of missing a bathroom or missing something, you'll not only take care of that, but you'll give them some, just to show them that, hey, the fact that you had to go without this clean bathroom until your next cleaning, I'm going to go above and beyond and let me deep clean a closet for you or something, whatever it is. I can't.
I'm always thankful. We're in service industries.
Yes.
I always joke I can hit Command Z or Control Z and undo stuff, right? Or, oh, we screwed that up. Let me just finish a website. I get these customers that are like in construction. That's no joke. Like you. We bought a new construction house. We're in there like, oh, the carpet's like wrong. For them to fix this whole thing, they're gonna have to redo the whole thing. Or these excavating guys that I'm with, I mean, they screw that up. It's like it's $500 to get somebody out there just to get your tractor out there. And so
we've had some expensive things happen. Well, we're insured, so it takes care of it. But we take care of our clients, and we do have unreasonable people. Unreasonable, and I just think I always use a metaphor. You buy a pair of shoes, you run a marathon, and you bring them back to me. You want me to make them look like they did when you bought them. You scuffed them, you've used them, it's worn, it's torn. Your pets, your family, your life. I can clean, but I can't restore.
Are people? How often are people really hard on you guys? Where like it seems like the bars.
Not much.
Not much.
Not really hard on us. Not not very much. In the beginning, not at all. They just loved me. It was just me, you know. And then as we hired people, then I noticed the change, because my daughters and I weren't in their home all the time. So now there was more of a different expectation on the quality of the service. But we have an amazing team set up. A couple of my older children, I do have 30 and 40-year-old kids. They take care of my clients, and my clients love me.
So I got another question then. Okay, so you just mentioned all the clients loved it when it was just you, right? I'm going through this right now. As you add new team members, as you add your kids and you start asking them to do stuff, you know, it can feel like I never want to, oh, my employee did the wrong thing. Like I still have the standard that this is as good as I did it, right? Well, how do you do that in cleaning? Like talk to me about like, what were the challenges when you were trying to set the Pamela expectation with your kids? How did that go? And then let's talk about.
Well, I had trained them at home. So
they watched you at home?
I trained them at home. I ran a tight ship at home. And then when they went to work, they worked with me. But what was your question? Ask me again.
So for your employees, okay, so your kids learned from you, seeing it at home. Here's the standard.
Right.
What was, like, do you remember who was your first employee and how did you,
I do remember
it with
her.
them or what'd you do?
Yeah, she was with me. In the beginning,
so you
they
guys
were
as
with
a
me.
team did it.
They were with me, and most of the people that we hire, we train them with, well, it used to be with myself, and then it became the daughters. Now we have people that are specially trained, and so they're all trained, so that helps out.
Back to that model.
But this is one thing I can honestly tell you as an entrepreneur, and it doesn't matter what business you have, but you say you have the issue a little bit, and you just open a different department in your business. When it was just me, there was no other department. I cleaned, and there was no worries about complaining, you know.
We talked to the sales department.
Yeah, now that we are so much bigger, and I do have these employees, now we have a department that works in the training, and then that takes care of.
That's cool.
That takes care of anything that needs to be taken care of whatever the complaint can be, or worried, or I can't control what's happening out there, but we have our way of doing things, and then we have a team, a system set in place to take care of that, which I never needed that when my daughters were cleaning or myself. The system was right at my dining room table every night. Okay, I knew every client, we talked about it, and it was done every day. Then we got so big, we had to just broaden our company, and we opened a new section in our company that takes care of that.
That's cool.
Because if they're buying me, they can't afford me anymore. Back then they could, but not now. But they're buying a cleaning, they're buying my seal of approval that means that whatever is not done to our standards will be corrected, and you will be compensated and happy.
That's cool.
Unless you're unreasonable, and we're talking about extremely unreasonable.
Yeah, which
there's a few, but not enough to worry.
So now I want to switch gears to, there's two things I want to go. I want to hear you give us some strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to your current business. I want you to tell me, like, what are some things you feel like could harm your business? What are the things you're best at? I want to do that. But then the other thing is, I want to talk about, for anybody who's like, I want to start a cleaning business. I want to do this. And let's talk through different parts of that. But
ask me one question at a time. That was a
lot.
lot.
I'm just letting you know we're going to go there. No, I'll shrink it down. Okay. What do you feel like, be really critical.
Okay.
Like, let us know the real. Like, I've seen the work you guys do.
I might have to shoot you after I tell you this.
I know, right? If you were, what is the biggest threat? And if you got to think about this is fine. What do you feel like is the biggest threat to your business right now? Like, what could come along and just cause havoc in your business?
I honestly feel like the biggest threat I have, and it might go along with what I believe and how I live my life, I'm afraid to lose sight of the vision and why My Girls was created. And once we lose sight, I feel like the few times I've seen us get complacent or lose sight, everything just goes to hell.
Mm-hmm. What are the first places that start to fall apart when you lose sight of that? Is it?
First fall apart is the front office that runs my.
Mm-hmm.
They're no longer connected. They're no longer relative to what's going on. They can't relate. They've lost sight of what we do anymore. It's become a mundane thing. I just do my work and I go home. Passion's gone.
The grind, there's a gravity to the grind.
Yeah, and I've seen it happen, and it's truly a fear, because I believe that we're all creating constantly. You're sitting in this building because someone had this idea and this dream that it would look this way and we'd be the, you know what I mean? It didn't just fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
So when you get complacent and you get caught up in your life outside of My Girls house cleaning, for us, we forget, and then we walk up to those doors and there's a drudgery that comes with us.
Yep.
And it goes right out there. And I'm not kidding you, it almost happens instantaneously. We'll get 10 cancellations. And I can feel it's coming. And right away, we get our team together and we nip it in the butt. We start here with myself and my front office team. What is going on?
So staying engaged with your people.
Right.
Making sure that you're showing the appreciation to them. Making sure that, like, your team, your leaders, and you have some really cool leaders here so you know that the threat is if you guys drop the ball on that just tumbles down quickly.
And I don't mean just dropping the ball by saying not answering the phone. I mean that you lose the vision.
Yeah.
It has to have a purpose and a vision.
Vision is huge.
If you're making bread because you want to feed the world and you forget that it's something that's edible, and you keep making this bread but it's not edible, and the loaf falls on the floor and we pick it up and we shove it in the bag and we forgot, pretty soon you're producing a terrible product because you forgot what you started to do. I could have done other things, not a whole lot of other things, I didn't have the education, but I could stop doing this and do something else now.
Yeah.
But I love the feeling of giving my clients a clean home. I mean, how much money, especially now, is spent on a home? $500,000? I don't know.
Easy.
A lot of money. And you're being taxed out the wazoo for whatever that all is, and you're driving this terrible traffic, and you're finally getting home, and the dog and the cat and the kids. And you walk through that door. Most all your money is in that home. It's in those children, husband and wife, pets, recreation, vacation, and we get to go there and clean it for you. I one time had a client, it wasn't a client, but wannabe client, and they called me clear across the country or whatever. I went over there, I gave her an estimate, and the first thing out of her mouth after I finished was, "Oh, you're too expensive," and and it was $20 too much, and whatever she said. $20 is nice and all.
Yeah.
And I was so proud of myself, and I feel vulnerable to say this, but I was so proud of myself because I knew who we were. And I wrote back to her and I said, "I did not know you were looking for the cheapest cleaning service you could find. If you would have told me that, I wouldn't have wasted your time or mine, because I'm not the right fit. If you're looking for someone that will take care of your hard-earned investment in your home, who will not bang the heck out of your walls, who will be kind to your children, your pets, who will come in smoke-free, drug-free, you name it, and take care of your home. And when you come home consistently, and when you come home, the products are safe and the cleaning is exquisite and you feel that quality, if that's what you're looking for, we're a good fit. But if you're looking for cheap, I wish I would have known that."
And not just cheap. It's interesting because you're saying cheap, but what you just listed off there, that's what you're getting when you choose. That's what the bar is. That's what the vision you're trying to cast to your team. And when you're delivering, you're trying to deliver on that kind of a promise. And it's interesting when folks in business, they're really bad at framing up the stakes a little bit. You don't want to fear monger, but like those are all the things you just listed there, those are your key differentiators. That's what you're trying to do. That's like the flour and the sugar and the chocolate chips and the cookies, right?
Right.
But if you don't put a little bit of salt in there,
It don't work.
just a little bit of bite to say, and just so you know, by the way, when you choose folks that are maybe lower bid or choose folks that haven't built the culture and the vision that we have, here's what happens. Every day, every week they're in here, it gets a little bit worse. Or it's a different person all the time. Or they don't have the background checks that we do.
Yeah.
Or they don't or there's scary people that come in.
Right.
And you don't want to fear monger, but the commitment to keep an engaged team and to reward them well and try to do that. And we say that. When you're selling, it's easy to say that, right? It's easy to be like, this is who we are.
Right.
You know what's hard is
Right.
on week 26 of
Right.
you cleaning their house
Right.
and to keep that vision in your employees. So that's I think that's a really cool answer to what's a big threat. What do you feel like are your biggest strengths? I think you probably just touched on them. Like as a company, where do you feel like your strengths are, and what do you want to have happen over the next couple of years here? And I know you've kind of shifted to being much more of a leader.
Right.
You want to empower other women,
Right.
other entrepreneurs, and
Startup
whatnot.
businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me what the future looks like.
For my girls is to have an elite amount of clients. We cannot clean every house in Apple Valley,
Yeah.
Lakeville, Minnetonka, anywhere
Yep.
we go. We cannot. And we're not for everybody. But we want to be able to be in the homes of those that are seeking the quality and the kind of services that we provide.
Yeah.
And you're going to pay for a service no matter what, if you're looking for house cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
So our goal is to not say downsize, because we're not really going to downsize, but we want to level off and say that's enough of this growing and growing. That's obviously will always be a revolving door of new clients, but take care of our clients and be able to provide the kind of cleaning that we know we can do. And we will obviously, like anybody that's selling a product, we want to be appreciated. We want to be needed.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into a home that doesn't really need me or doesn't, and we'll even tell them, you really don't need me every weekend. How about if we do it once a month? You're only here. And it's not about how much money we can make or how many times I can clean your house. It's about what you need. So for my girls, I see my children, I have given it everything I can. Every penny, everything I could possibly do. The company belongs only to me because I wanted to take all the negative hits as we build it, and I'm turning it over to them.
Yeah.
It provides a wonderful living for me, and I've done the work for that. If you want to see the stars, tell me. I tell my team, tell me what you want to do. I will give you the support. I will do the big scary things because that's my job. I do all the big hard scary things and moving the vision, rebranding, taking care of any past debt or whatever we're doing that way. But you guys have to tell me. And I'm so blessed to have an amazing team that has a great creative dream as to what they want to use their talents. And I believe that's, I think it's 4 girls and a son, I believe, that work here up front. And there's so many things that my girls will do. And when I think of my girls, I've had tons of dreams like this. I see her like this amazing baby, this amazing, obedient, wonderful child that has given me so much joy. It was work and to raise and grow her, but now it's time for me to be in the back burner, let the children move with her. My goal is to use this experience, and I have done several times, bless other entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And I'm a very busy only parent, and I still could do it. And I raised 9 beautiful, amazing humans that I put out in our community. They're well, law-abiding, amazing, go to church, and they serve our community. So I feel like if I could do that, anybody else could do that. Now, they need to have the passion, dream, desire, need, whatever it is. But so that is what I see for my girls and for Pamela Jones. I will continue just sharing my story.
Because you want to encourage other women.
I want to encourage you.
And me.
You don't look good in a dress, but I still want to encourage you.
Absolutely.
You can be an amazing business entrepreneur I mean, you're quite a bit younger than me, and I can just say, hey, I saw you tear up when you heard my story.
Oh,
and I know you tried to hold it in, but you thought, how does someone come from that and be so positive, so well-rounded, and still give to our community? We all have a story of how we got where we're at, and mine's not any better than anybody else. It's easier for people to say, oh my gosh, that was hard. But we all have our challenges and our fears and our, what's it called, that imposter syndrome that we go through, you know?
Oh.
So that's what I see for my girl.
Coming across, fear of death, don't know the language perfectly, getting in, not knowing where you're going. You got a bunch of kids, you start cleaning, you learn that, you come up, you're cleaning with a kid on your back, hustling, grinding, getting it going, taking the hits on the chin, but adding value, continuously improving, adding value, and slowly crafting where you've figured out, you know who we need to serve. We want to be the kind of cleaning company that helps add margin into the lives of people that need it, that help them feel great about their home, that need it. And it is a unique thing. It's almost like what people don't understand often is that wealthier folks, so your clientele that happen to be wealthier business owners, whatever that is, their family ends up being almost like a little business, even if they're not their own business, because you get so many moving parts and complexities and their time gets hard and you get to be a blessing to that. You get to add, you get to be a part of that. And it's funny, I committed to try and get people around me that have complementary giftings around me. And so I remember my first hire, Eric, he was my video guy, and it was like, oh my gosh, I have enough money to do this, but so mean I have like no money. Like once I hire him, I'm gonna have to go get more sales. And man, we had him, and then we had my wife come and work with us, and that was like, oh gosh. And then I had to get a nanny because it was like, man, we need the help.
Yep.
And our two nannies, but my nanny, Kayla, it's just amazing. She basically came into our life and just helped. She helped clean and watch and raise our kids. And it sounds ridiculous, but if you were to rewind 150 years ago, or even 100 years ago, we had multi-generational families and cousins, and like they lived in a manner that kind of had a cleaning company. Now we exchange dollars for it, but you get to come in and add value into these people's lives. And I think that that's so cool. Another thing that I want to just bring up is that my mom's mom, so she was Mimi to me. She was Ethel, my mom's mom. She passed away about 7-8 years ago, or almost 10 years ago now. And she had an interesting story. I think she was the oldest of like 5 kids. Her dad, they came over. I think they were first generation German. They were up in North Dakota and they had a farm. And she grew up, raised, like they had tons of kids. It was a big family. It was a connected family, but it was kind of like, I don't know that there was lots of negativity or anything, but there was some challenges there. And then she got married, and my grandpa he was an alcoholic, a terrible alcoholic, like a really bad alcoholic. And so while my mom was young and my aunt were young, and I don't want to air all our laundry, but in a vulnerable moment, my grandma had to leave this awful drunk. He was dangerous. He's bad news dude. I hardly knew him at all. And so she leaves him and moved on the other side of North Dakota and had to start over. And it was like she started over from absolutely nothing, had no money. There was a little bit of help from grandpa, and the family was there. That was the consistent thing. Family. They didn't have tons of money, but they were, they had money. And then she met a man, and she was engaged to him, and things were all exciting. This was like, I think, late 70s. All of a sudden, he dies. He gets hit by a car.
Oh my gosh.
Out of nowhere.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, you got to be kidding me. And then she got remarried, and then this would have been like in the early 80s, and it was Mimi and Bumpa, my grandma and grandpa. We loved her so much. And then eventually that husband died, and then she persisted for like another 10 years. Well, what I didn't know is that, as I got older, I was asking my mom, like, what does Mimi do for a living? And this woman was the most utilitarian. Like she could take flour and butter and something and feed people for months. Like she didn't throw away any Tupperware containers. She grew up in the Depression, but she cleaned houses. She cleaned houses, and she was always just keeping enough family, and she saved, like probably to a fault. But there's elements in your story, elements of just getting it done, taking it on the chin. Life happens, deaths happen, bad things, bad people, evil raises its head. And Yet if you just stay faithful and just, what do you have on you right now? What can you do right now? And be faithful in that moment to add value, be faithful to people around you. And I just hear that in your story.
Right.
And it makes me warm and fuzzy
Yeah.
inside. So
That's good.
that's cool.
And to add what you're saying, and I do believe this, we don't need to buy a program or follow the next inspirational guru that's having you jump up and down, stand on your head and take this vitamin or sell their product or whatever it is. You have what you need already. You just need to get access to it. You need to believe, you need to get, and it's within, like you talk about your grandmother. She cleaned houses, but her determination to exceed or excel in all the life-changing things that happened, she kept going and going. And I feel like every human, you sitting there, you and I couldn't be more different. But as I listen to some of your story, I think, there you go, there's the connection. We have things in common. We have things as entrepreneurs even, like, I can imagine how scared you are sometimes. You're not doing this, not showing up your time. Like you're saying how valuable your time is, and how do you navigate that? And you're at a crucial time with your kids, and you'll never get this back. And isn't it funny that we're always building businesses right when we're raising our kids?
Yeah.
And it's like insane. You'll never get those questions, she sits and talks about in her first this and first that. That will never come back. And you're trying to do this, and all ever changing, and trusting your creation and your knowledge and what you're learning and what you're paying for and you're investing in, and then come home and still invest in your children, and then your marriage. You got to put some deposits there, or because how many of us will end up divorced once the kids are gone? So it's a lot of pressure at this time, for any human out there, anybody that's going through life. Then you want to create this business. So I think timing is everything. Your priority is important. There's only so much of you. I'm being very honest. If I would have married into a perfect world, and I would have married a soulmate, and he and I would have had these 9 kids, I would not have started my business when I was raising the kids. I was spread thin. I ran a perfect house, but I would have done a few things on the side for a little extra cash.
Yep.
I'd have done the few things I like to do. I might have cleaned one house on the weekend, or I've done little things. I would not have put the business because I was spread so thin at the time. It's definitely intense. But being an only parent and having these needs.
And an only parent, I'm sorry. It's hard with 2 of us.
Yeah.
You have more kids than an only parent.
Only a parent that our whole culture had been ripped away from us. We had to start our traditions. We didn't bring traditions with us.
Interesting.
So the buck stops at me. We had to create how we did church, everything had to come from our little family and what we decided. So my grandparents all had sacrificed and paid a certain price to have the colony and the inheritance that my children would have. And it's a beautiful place. All of that was taken from us. So we came here and started with nothing, and started our little Snoopy Christmas tree and created this life that we have here today. That's one of the reasons why I've written my memoir, because I want my grandchildren and great-grandkids to know what the price is paid and a little bit about where we came from. Grandma didn't just fall out of the sky and here we were, So that to me was why I'm successful as well, and because the need that I had, and you and I talked about this once before, that need, hobby, desire, whatever it is, it will kind of dictate how the business kind of goes. You're either going to be really passionate about it or have a really strong need about it, or you kind of just fell off the wagon and it just happened to land in your lap. That does happen sometimes, and you become very successful. But it depends on so that's what I love about working and talking to a lot of the people that I do, is I'm able to just kind of come to that area, okay, what's going on, and give them advice at that. And some people are just happy. Like I worked with a hairdresser who bought a company, and now she owns this hairdressing company. And when we talked, I said, "Are you forever happy standing behind the chair?" And she's like, "Yeah, well, whatever." She's talking about money. I'm not kidding you. By the time I left her facility and got home, I had a calculator. I had figured out how many hairs had to be done and all this for her to leave from behind the chair and be able to make the money and not do the hair, and how much more she could grow. And then I came back the next time I did my hair, and I brought the numbers and I showed it to her. And I said, "You can stay behind the chair. This is the ultimate amount of money you'll make in 1 year. You can do this many."
Is that kind of how when you think of goals, and you're always like, how many cleanings did I need in a day, week, month?
Yes.
Is that kind of how
That's how I do it. So with her, I would say, you can only cut 10 hairs a day, just say, in a perfect world. That's paying you this much money, and then this is how much is going to cut your overhead. You're making this much. In 1 year, you can only make this much money. And say you give up your whole life, you make a little more. We can go down to the penny how much money you're going to make in a year.
That's so interesting. I just want to say, doing the math, because a lot of people don't do this. Like, oh, I have this idea, I'm going to do this. I'm like, well, what happens if you get successful? How many can you actually do? So the top end, the most you can possibly, and that's what you're doing, is you're trying to play the movie forward of this career tops out at this, or you need to like.
But if you want to be an entrepreneur, that's where I take them from behind the chair to the entrepreneur. That's unlimited. All you got to do is charge $6 more for each one of these ladies that are cutting hair in your facility to them. Have them charge their price by $6, and that goes directly to your pocket. And you can move from out behind this chair. And she's like, how do you know that? I said, well, I did the math. I figured it out for you.
That's
and,
cool.
And it's like, to me, it's like, you can have both, but why not? It's unlimited.
And then they get to use her credibility. This is what's interesting.
Right.
This is where I listen on TikTok. There's some folks out there. There's a whole little bunch of communists. They're like, that's exploitative. You would use their labor. Folks, when you get out and like, how many houses did you have to clean with you and your kids to build the reputation, to show that you're credible, that you're not a criminal, and that you deliver great results, and that you have good value, you're a good value that can be trusted. And now somebody gets to come in and just take that and operate underneath you. Like for a gal who's cutting hair, that she delivers, that meant all those results. And then as she adds in people underneath her, they get to use her credibility. They get to use your licenses, your facility, your payroll system, your tax return. Like people have no idea. Well, I think they do. I don't know. I think if people like that just work a W-2 were to come in and be like, how many burdens and layers of bureaucracy there are in a business, you'd be like, why can't I just go? Like, isn't it fun?
Yeah.
You go clean someone's house and the government's like, all right, give me a quarter of that. Like, what? I cleaned their house and you get a quarter of that? Like,
yeah, they figure
go
it
away.
out. Yeah. Well, I was going to add to what you were saying is a little story I heard a while back or whatever it was. It was back in the Times. It was in New York City, and they had the Times newspaper, I believe is what it was called. And one of the printing presses had gone down. And they had a big event coming to the city, and they were going to announce it in the newspaper. But the press had gone down. And they were trying to fix it and figure it out and they were up against the clock. Anyways, so someone that was working there said, hey, my grandfather used to work, who knows where, what, on these presses, a little bit different, whatever. And they said, well, we're desperate. Can you bring him in? So they brought him in, and he's just a little old man, comes in. They think, what is he going to do? He walked up to the press. He looks at it all, and he sees whatever, and then finally he looks around and he goes, oh, and he takes out a penny out of his pocket and he sticks it in this little screw and he turned it just a quarter of a something certain way, and the machine went off. And they were so thankful. You saved the day. They were so impressed, happy, you name it. He went home and sent them a bill, and they got a bill for $10,000. And they were like, oh my gosh, all you did is come in here, you took a penny out of your pocket, you turned that in, and it says, hey, it's 99 cents for the effort of the penny turning the screw.
Wisdom.
But you're going to pay me $9,999 for my wisdom.
That's cool. That's cool.
And I feel like as an entrepreneur and coming out, that's where we're very valuable. There's a lot of wisdom. That I feel like if I would have met someone like me when I first started my company, it would have saved me so much. Just to say you're on track. Like I told my friend, someone said, I'm just so afraid I'm doing everything wrong. And what if she tells me, I said, oh, you're right on track. You're right on your track to be successful. She goes, really? I go, because that's important.
That's cool.
You're going to feel all those things.
That's cool. Well, okay, so what's your website? How do people get in touch with you? We're going to have more conversations down the road here.
Great.
But that was fantastic. How do people get in touch with you?
So PamelaSpeaks.live. And you'll find all the information on me there. And I plan on putting a little piece of this there too.
Absolutely.
And then if you're looking for cleaning, it's My Girls House Cleaning. I think you can find us under exclusive services by My Girls too.
We're navigating all the domain things.
We're trying to figure that out. But it's My Girls House Cleaning if you're looking for a house cleaning. And if you just want to get on the waiting list for my book, my memoir, to hear more about how I escaped the cult and how I became the wonderful person that I am. You can find all that information at Pamela Speaks as well.
And I'm pumped to hear more. I'm pumped to read your book. I'm pumped to support you and all this
Yeah,
stuff.
you'll probably give me a big hug and probably have tears roll down your cheek. I had no idea. I would have been more compassionate.
Well, you didn't know. I was crying a little bit while you got going there because I just think of like, yeah, this is good. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you, Rob.
Pamela,
it was
you're a blessing.
amazing. Thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Absolutely.
Just edit out all my silliness.
You were awesome. I don't think we had to edit anything. So, folks, if you like this, and we're going to do more. So, if you have questions or thoughts, we're going to be doing another video either today or maybe next week here about how do you start your own cleaning business? Like, what do you actually do? How do you do it? Because I think I want to hear more about that because I know that there's so many people that can
and
do
I've
that.
helped several women start cleaning businesses since I started
That's
mine.
awesome.
Save you lots of time.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Pamela. Thanks,
Thank
folks.
you.
Appreciate it.